there, Matt Carpenter checking in once again. And if some of you, hopefully this isn't the case, if some of you are unaware, that was the godfather of reggae, Robert Nesta Marley, welcoming us into this segment. And I don't want to wait in vain. Okay, it's not just an unbelievable song, but also I think speaks to what a lot of families are feeling right now, and just sitting on pins and needles, hoping to go 100% in admissions results, and then hoping that the financial aid piece comes with it. So it's kind of we've been so busy for so long, it feels a little strange not to be actively doing something. Okay, and really there's just one step left. We have just about all the heavy lifting behind us. One step left in terms of financial aid. Before we even get into it, let me say this. We've satisfied all firm deadlines. By completing the CSS profile, the institutional applications, and the FAFSA, okay, we're eligible for the max amount of aid at each college. Any colleges that are requiring tax returns, the IDOC or verification worksheets, any supplemental additional information, they don't come with firm deadlines. So we're in no danger of receiving less money if, for example, we're filing extensions, we're still waiting for K1s, we can't get a hold of our accountant. Any of these things, you don't need to stress, you don't need to lose sleep, you're not going to be punished for it. If you fall into one of these categories and schools are starting to request tax returns, or you've received the email from IDOC, okay, it's just a good idea to keep an open line of communications. Reach out to these schools and say, hey, listen, we know you request tax returns by February 15th, March 1st. We're not going to be able to do it till April 15th or March 15th, or we need to file an extension. Whatever might be the case, let them know. They might say, that's okay if you're filing an extension, give us the paperwork to demonstrate that. Or they might say, we want last year's tax returns in the meantime. Either way, like I said, you won't be punished. Now, anything involving tax returns, usually not a great time, okay? Gets people a little freaked out unless you're an accountant. The whole thing's a little bit uncomfortable. And like a lot of parts of this process, fairly labor intensive, fairly tedious, stressful, everything else. So we suggest a tool that everyone uses when they're going through this process, what's called the verification process, whether it's IDOC or otherwise. And there's a couple different tools that are effective, and they can be used throughout this process, but this is a great time especially. Everyone's a little different, okay? You're going to have your Corona families, have a nice Corona while you're doing this, make it a little bit more pleasant. Around here, you're going to see a lot of Budweiser families. And then, of course, we have the more elegant families. It might be a glass of wine. Whatever it happens to be, okay? Me and my cousin, we have a couple of these. Makes everything a little bit nicer, a little bit easier. Okay, so that's what we tell people. You can't mess this up. If you forget a page, if you're a little late, you will not be punished. Okay, so make it a less painful experience. When you get your taxes done, because you have to do that first, can't do anything without taxes, lay everything out on the kitchen table, get your favorite vice right next to you, make it a somewhat pleasurable experience. Okay, now you guys, a lot of you have received an email from IDOC. If you have not, it probably doesn't apply to you. But IDOC is a central processing agency that a lot of private colleges use, and they have you send your tax returns directly to them as opposed to the college. They want you to include a cover sheet. It looks something like this. All right? Something like this. Now this was last year's, and this year's is even a bit easier because it's tailor-made to each student. So it's going to include the student's date of birth, name, social right on the top. And then they're going to ask you for your entire federal return. Okay, so obviously the 1040, and then any schedules and W-2s to be included. A lot of these things, they're not going to make any sense to you. They're asking for a schedule SE tax, a schedule 1120, a schedule 1120S. If you haven't heard of any of these things, it's not in your tax return. They don't apply to you. Again, if you forget to include something, no big deal. They're going to come back and say, hey, we got to get this from you. You'll send it at that time. So don't be too freaked out. We get a lot of emails, phone calls this time saying, I don't know anything about IDOC. I don't know anything about tax returns. How do I do it? We usually say, open the email document, click on the link, follow the instructions line by line, and it's very straightforward. And that's usually the case. Now, some colleges will have you send the tax returns directly to them, and they'll want you to include a verification worksheet. And we've sent one in the last reminder email just so you can see what that looks like. And again, of course, any questions, give us a call, shoot us an email, we'll get you squared away. Of course, the colleges will be happy to walk you through this as well. And College Board has their own helpline. So IDOC has their own helpline where it's pretty easy to get live operators on the phone to help you out. So again, sort of our last hurdle. We're putting the positive vibes and prayers out there for you guys, hoping everybody gets accepted to their top choices, and obviously hopefully the money is soon to follow. So if you can think of any other families that might benefit from working with us, pass along this video, send our contact information, and we'd be happy to help them as well. So we wish you the best, and we'll look forward to talking to you in a few weeks.